Welcome to the Be Real Podcast with me, Bobby Maximus, and that guy, Joe Cebula. And today we're going to get right down to business. We're going to talk to you about how to stay fit during the summer. Joe, I'm at the pool yesterday with my kids. I was horrified, shocked, dismayed, saddened, taken aback, disgusted by the state of fitness of men at that pool. I'm not going to lie. I'm just going to put that out there.
It is really, really depressing when you look with objective eyes, completely objective eyes, at just the state of people's health, especially in the United States. And I think it's just especially evident when everybody's showing up at the pool trying to get some sun, and they're taking their shirts off, and it's a sad state of affairs. I feel you.
You kind of don't realize in the winter, everybody's covered up. Everybody's got a hoodie. Everybody's wearing a shirt. Everybody's wearing a coat. Like, you just don't see it the way you do at a pool. But a couple of things with that. I want to be clear. I don't expect every single person to look like Mr. Olympia. Right. I don't expect every single person to have a six-pack. I don't expect everyone on the planet to have sculpted pecs, capped shoulders, biceps with veins in them. But there's a certain minimum standard that I'd like to think there should be an expectation for people to try to achieve.
I think you should be able to see your toes, right?
Yes. Yes. But even these days, and I don't think I'm being controversial by saying this, I think even these days, a dad bod passes for fit. Yeah. That's how far we've fallen.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
At the same time, I don't think you and I, even though we're fitness professionals, even though this is our industry, even though this is what we do, I don't think we have a real idea of how bad it is out there. Like, we can read the stats, right? Like, your average American male has 28% body fat. That sounds really, really high to me. But I don't think I necessarily have a concept of what that looks like on a grand scale.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the scary thing is I live in a high-end zip code. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that because generally, a higher socioeconomic status, people are more fit, they're more healthy, they're more concerned with appearance, they're more concerned with the show. These are the more fit people. If I was to go to a pool in a lower income tax bracket, if I was to go to a pool that was, surrounded by people of a lower socioeconomic status, there certainly is a correlation between, I don't want to use the word poverty because that's extreme, but there's certainly a correlation between having a lower socioeconomic status and your fitness level. Do you know what I mean? And so we're not even seeing the average Joe. We're seeing like the best of the average at the pool that I was at. And that's scary to me.
Yeah.
Now to take
we were just talking about this just a few minutes before we got on this podcast. We were talking about how people's feelings become their reality. And so it's like, in our world, the people who come into our gyms, that come for our services, are automatically people who are concerned with their health, with their fitness. So the people that we're surrounded with are probably in the top 10% of what we just see in the general public too.
Cool.
And so
you're
our
saying
view of the world gets skewed.
Yeah, I'm gonna push back on you, Joe. I think the people we surround ourselves with are the top 5%.
Okay.
Maybe the top 2. Think of it like this. I compare it to wealth, right? Mm-hmm. What did you tell me the other day? If you don't have a credit card debt and you have $10,000 in the bank, you're in the top 2% of the country.
$1 in your pocket with no credit card debt, you're in the top 1%.
You're in the top 1%. But there's a huge difference when you look at that top 1 or 2 or 3%. There's a huge difference between Jeff Bezos and Jeff Bezos' ex-wife, who are at the top of the bracket. Then you've got Mark Cuban, who's filthy rich, but nowhere near Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
And then you've got the guy who owns $1 million house and has no debt. Those three data points are extremely far apart. So I would argue the people we surround ourselves with, like if you're a person and if you're listening to this and you've been working out 4 to 5 days a week for a year, you are likely in the top 2% of fitness in the country. That's
and that doesn't, and to your point, that doesn't mean that you're ready to be a professional NFL running back. No. But you're in that group of people.
You're in that bracket. And we, on an earlier podcast, I can't remember the title of it. You'll have to go watch them all. There's my plug for the show. But we talked about, and this actually came up at a dinner party I was at Saturday, Joe, what the average American consumes. 636 beer a year, not beer, alcoholic beverages a year. That's 2 a day. 6.6 pounds of potato chips. Potato chips don't weigh a lot. You're eating a bag of chips a day. 40 gallons of soda a year. And when you start, these are the averages for all these data points. And I didn't talk about ice cream. I didn't talk about candy. I didn't talk about French fries. I didn't talk about hamburgers. I didn't talk about pizza. The average American does all of those things. And that's not the worst. That's the average, Joe. And for every person like you or I that has 100 drinks, that means there's somebody out there having 1,000 drinks, right?
Well, George Carlin has a whole thing on this, Bobby, where it's like, if you think people are stupid, just imagine that if the average person, you picture that in your head and you realize just kind of how stupid the average person is. And then you got to recognize that half of those people are even stupider than that. And so to extrapolate that to fitness, if we look at the average of how unfit just the average person is based on that data, know that at least half of them are worse off than that, because it's a bell curve.
Not just slightly worse off, way worse off. And that's what I saw at the pool yesterday. Like, it literally, I will tell you though, there's hope for the next generation, because I didn't see one male adult that looked like they exercised. I didn't see one male adult that looked like they cared about their body at all. But I saw a pack of 17, 18-year-old boys that were shredded. Like, I was ready to go up and ask them what they did for their workout routine, because clearly they care.
Who's that guy? They just follow that guy on TikTok that your boy's always going off about.
Yeah, Sam Suling. But, right, you're young and you care. And then something happens. You get into university, you graduate, you meet the girl of your dreams, you get a job, and you just give up. And then there's where you end up when you're 35, 40, 45 years old. But the reason I'm telling you this is we're at the start of the summer, too. This is when people should be at their peak. Like, you would think that these guys that were going to the pool should have some semblance of self-respect, some semblance of dignity, some semblance of, I'm going to say, even societal or peer pressure. It's March. I got to go to the pool with my kids in June. I got to get looking good. I got to get my summer body back. And it is the second biggest time for the fitness industry. The number one biggest time is obviously January 1st. I don't think that's a surprise to everybody. But the second time, and the next big one that you could take advantage of, is that summer rush. Like, I need to get fit for the summer. I need to get my summer body back. I'm going to be on a boat. I'm going to be at a pool. I'm going to have to take my shirt off. I need to look good. The question I have is, okay, despite all the trash I just talked about, people being horrifically out of shape, my question is, how do you stay fit for the summer? Because that's where people let it go. And I really believe the reason people are like the people I saw at the pool last night, Joe, because they do this all year.
Yeah.
Right? It hits January 1st. You start trying. You fade off a bit. The summer's coming. You start trying again. The summer hits. You spend the entire summer at barbecues, drinking, at July the 4th fireworks, or July the 1st in Canada, or whatever you celebrate. And I say that because I am Canadian, so I got to represent and say July the 1st. It's our Independence Day, if you will. It's not an Independence Day. It's actually just the birth of our nation, because we're not independent from anything. However, now I'm going down a political rabbit hole.
Hold on, back up. Let's explain.
But I'll break this down for you. My name is Bobby Maximus. I'm from Canada. It's a socialist country. I fled here to the United States to be free.
Now you can own guns.
Isn't that what people believe down here? It's funny, like Canada's like a socialist nation, right? But on a serious note, Joe, you spend the summer basically treating your body like an amusement park. Like you put all this work to get fit, or put in all this work to get fit, and then it hits June 1st arbitrarily, and you just shut down. You're drinking, you're partying, you're at the barbecues, you're stuffing your face, and by the end of the summer, you're completely trashed. And then there's like a third little spike, back to school. You're kind of ingrained, right? It's back to school, back to work, back to the real world. I'm going to get fit again. I'm going to do my thing. And then you get a little spike up, and then you hit Thanksgiving, Christmas, and just completely destroy yourself. So you go through the year really on this roller coaster. And then what do you end up with? The guy at the pool I saw last night that's just not very fit, because you can never stay 2 steps ahead. Exactly.
And like you said, there's these waves, because people feel like you can just sort of flex your way into fitness. You can just sort of white knuckle it. And there's a burnout point to that, because you just can't. There's going to be a part where you have to make an actual change. Like your lifestyle has to change. And that's hard to do, especially if you're in your 30s or 40s. You got a lot of practice of just kind of being who you are. That's not easy to make that change. So rather than that, you just give up on the fitness for a little while. You just ease off. You just go back into the status quo. But guess what? The status quo is what got you out of shape in the first place. So you rest up, and then you try to white knuckle it, and then you fall off, and then you rest up, and then you try to do it again. And that, whatever your peak is and wherever that bottom level is, you're maybe maintaining something in the middle of that, but you're not moving up here full time.
No. Now I want to address something you said, because it's really important to the point I want to make.
Okay.
Lifestyle.
Yes.
You're trying to white knuckle it. You're treating everything like a boot camp. This needs to be a lifestyle. And what I want to do is I want to give whoever you are watching this, I want to give you some real strategies about not only how to stay fit for the summer, because that's the title of the podcast, obviously, but how to stay fit all year round, because that's what it's really about. And I want to start off with point number 1. Make it a lifestyle. It's easier to stay on the bus than get kicked off the bus and try to get back on. Do it once, buy it once, pay the fare once, sit in your seat and fight like hell to not fall off that bus and get spit out the back. And the reason being is you only have so much mental juice. If 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 times a year, you're feeling like you have to climb Mount Everest or Kilimanjaro, you're going to fail and you're going to fatigue. On the other hand, if you're already at the top of the summit, it's easier to just keep going. Like for me, Joe, I literally worked out 2 to 3 times a day for 30 years. Now, the term workout is a little bit misleading. I do some weights in the morning. I go to jiu-jitsu. I don't know if I would count jiu-jitsu as a workout anymore. It's just really activity, right? Like golf. Golf's not a workout. Golf's an activity. Now, jiu-jitsu is a little physically more intensive than golf. However, once you've done it for years like I have, and you just go in and do technique, it's not that much of a physical drain. If I'm not doing jiu-jitsu, I'm walking for an hour in the afternoon with my wife or with my family. Now, that's not necessarily a workout, but for somebody that was at the pool last night that's 100 pounds overweight, you're damn right 60-minute walk is a workout. So some of my things I would classify as activity, but the point is I am moving 2 to 3 times a day. I've done it for 30 years. It's easier for me to wake up tomorrow, no matter how tired I am, no matter how lazy I feel, to just do it because I miss it. It's part of my routine. It's part of my habit. I liken it to brushing your teeth. I don't want to brush my teeth every day. I don't wake up and yearn to brush my teeth. I don't wake up and say, this is the best day ever. I get to go brush my pearly whites today. Like, I don't think like that, but I do it because it's a habit and I've always done it and it doesn't take any mental willpower and it's easy to just keep doing it.
And it goes back to what you said earlier, which I think is a really, really strong takeaway for people. It's this boot camp mentality. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine. I'm helping him out with a training program, but he has this trip coming up. He's going up to the boundary waters in northern Minnesota. Hi, Micah, if you're listening. He's going canoeing for a week. And so he's kind of at the tail end of one program. Then he's got this trip, and then he's going to start the program that I gave him. But the second week of that program, he has another event that he has to go to. He's got to travel again. And so he was sitting there saying, well, I don't want to start it this week because I'm going to finish the program I'm on, which I completely support. Then he's going to have a week of roughing it in the outback. And then it's like, it's time to go, but maybe I should wait. Maybe I shouldn't. And it's like, well, listen, if you're coming at this with, I have to do 6 weeks of work unbroken with no excuses, when are you ever going to start it? Something is always going to come up. And he even said to me, as he sat there mouthing this to me as we were standing outside the coffee shop getting ready to part ways, and he's just sort of pontificating. It means thinking, if you don't know what pontification is. And he just stopped mid-sentence. He's like, I'm just making excuses, aren't I? And I was like, yeah. I said, you're going to wake up every day with it on your mind that you're going to do what's required by the program. And I gave him some, body weight workouts to do if he ends up traveling. But that's all part of that lifestyle. If I don't have access to the gym, that doesn't stop me from getting a workout in. Now, it may not be the same workout. It may not be as intense as like a full-blown, weights and cardio and everything else, but it's something. And there's nothing that comes up in my life that really interferes with that. I will always find a way to get a little bit of something in.
But in addition, Joe, if it is your habit, no matter how tired, no matter how broken you are, you can always muster the strength, the capacity to go do it. Like I'm trying to think back to my worst morning. Now, I haven't been hungover a lot in my life because I'm not a big drinker, right? Like I have been literally hungover a handful of times, probably under 5. But I remember those days. And you know what? You wake up, you drag your ass to the shower, you shower, you brush your teeth, you go have a healthy breakfast, you go for a walk. Like it's easy to do because it's what you do every single day. The minute you have to try new, the minute you have to try novel, the minute you have to do something that's strange, it takes a bunch of mental juice. Now there's another component of lifestyle as well. The more fit you are, the easier it is to stay fit because the cost is less and you could do more work in less a period of time. And so to use myself as an example, there are days that I get busy. And I've said this before, but I'm going to tell you the story again. There are days I only have 15 minutes to work out and I get the one in. And so that's why I say I've worked out 2 to 3 times a day for 3 decades because, there have been days I've only trained once. On the other hand, there are days I'll get my 4 in and it resets the average. At any rate, in 15 minutes, Joe, I can get 50 pull-ups, 50 dips, and 50 push-ups without a huge amount of stress on my body.
Yeah.
In fact, last week, I had to travel to St. Louis for an event. My plane was leaving early in the morning. I woke up, I showered, I got my clothes on, and I did 50 pull-ups, 50 dips, 50 push-ups while I finalized my packing and had breakfast. And then I got out the door. I wasn't sweating. I wasn't smelly on the plane. But the point is, I was able to get 50 reps of those each without causing myself any stress. Now, you might not think that's a lot. I was going to say there's a lot of people, but I'll pick on the people at the pool. If I lined those 100 men up that were at the pool last night, I wonder how many could do 3 pull-ups. Maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 3. The 18-year-old kids could do it for sure, those jacked little monsters. But any of the men, no way. So it's a lot. And the average person that we were talking about, if we're talking the midpoint American male who's 28% body fat, they're not doing any pull-ups. So 50 is a significant amount. Now, compound that to even a larger scale. If that's all you did every day, by the end of the year, you do 18,000 pull-ups, 18,000 push-ups, 18,000 dips. My question to you is, how many of those have you done in your life? And Joe, if I'm gonna actually ask you, have you done 18,000 pull-ups in your life? My guess is the answer is yes, but it's a big enough number, you kind of got to think about it.
Yeah, I have to go back and do some mental math on that. There was a time when I was doing 700 to 1,000 pull-ups a week, But there's a whole other thing, as we were talking about this 1%, right? On the low end, you can do 1 pull-up. On the Jeff Bezos end, you got no problem doing 50, right? So like there's a scale there within that. But like you were saying, that the guys at the pool can't even do one. They're incapable of even competing.
Amount.
Yeah.
And 18,000 a year is a significant amount. So if you are fit, you can stay fit pretty easy, because now all it takes is 14 minutes a day or 15 minutes a day. Yeah. It's always funny when I say on TV, you can achieve great fitness on 20 minutes 3 times a week. And that's kind of true for the person that's already fit.
Let me ask you this question, Bobby. Just for perspective, do you remember the first time you PR'd your bench press?
Yes.
Do you remember the 7th?
No.
There comes a point, no matter how impressive the thing that you did is, it just becomes a thing that you can do.
Thing that you do, yep.
So for me, like deadlifting 400 pounds is just a thing that I can do. But there was a time when I had never lifted that weight before.
Yep.
It's like, if you can do pull-ups, like if I showed up at your house and I was just like, hey, dude, show me any pull-ups you could do, and you can do some pull-ups, like it's just a thing that you can do that puts you so much farther ahead of the people who just cannot do it at all. It's like, can you do pull-ups? Yeah, absolutely. Can I do 50? Can I do 5? I can still do pull-ups. And so just perspective-wise, it's like it is just this thing that you can do at that point, and the ability to do that thing is one of the things that's now going to separate you from all the people who can't.
Yeah, you can go out to your garage, you can go to your little pull-up bar that hangs from your door frame, you can just bang it out and be done. But it is easier to stay fit than get fit. The other example I use is running. A 5-minute mile is pretty remarkable. I don't know many people that can run a 5-minute mile. Now, it's not world class. There's guys running 356, 354, 355. I mean, there are people that hold 405 miles for an entire marathon.
There's high school girls that can break 5 minutes.
Yeah,
you know?
so 5 minutes, it's not like it's great, but there's not many people that can do it. And to get a 5-minute mile, you have to put in hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of training. That said, if you've already put that training in and you can run a 5-minute mile, you can just run a mile in 5 minutes every single day and have tremendous cardiovascular fitness. It's just you don't appear there. You have to have put the work in before, and that was my point. You can get fit 20 minutes 3 times a week if you've already put in thousands of hours beforehand. The other example I use is I'm going to Canada this summer for a week to visit my family. Probably not going to have gym access, but I still want to train, and I want my kids to have a vacation. I don't want to be training 4 hours a day.
It's a Canadian vacation. You got to put on flannel and have an axe, and you're going to head out to the woods.
We'll chop down some trees. But my point is, Joe, I'm going to spend 30 minutes a day of dedicated time, but because I'm fit, I can make that 30 minutes worthwhile. I can do an obscene amount of burpees, an obscene amount of lunges, an obscene amount of squats, an obscene amount of frog hops in 30 minutes. So lifestyle, you can make this a lifestyle. And once you have that fitness, I promise you it gets easier and easier and easier. And one more point to drive that home. One of the things I routinely do with my personal training clients, I'll have them go through 3 to 6 months with me. And then at the end of our program, I'll have them repeat week 1 at the same intensity. And they are shocked at how easy it is. Something that caused them so much stress, something that caused them so much soreness, so much pain, so much mental anguish. It's literally a walk in the park. And so imagine your easy day, Joe, is somebody's hardest day. Well, now you can really stay fit. So that's number one. The number one thing, just stay fit all year. It is way easier than being on this roller coaster.
Yeah.
The second thing you can do is just make time for yourself every single day. I don't care what party there is. I don't care what boat you're going on. I don't care if you're day drinking. I don't care if you're traveling. Just check the box. Treat it like a doctor's appointment, a dentist appointment, an appointment with your accountant. Like, just make an appointment with yourself, even if it's just 15 minutes, even if it's just 20 minutes. It might not seem like a lot, but I promise you by the end of the summer, those days that you chose to show up versus not showing up, they will add up, and there'll be a tremendous fitness result because of that.
Well, that goes to a little bit of something is always better than a whole lot of nothing.
Yep. Well, it adds up, Joe. Think about 220. Yep. So 220 is one of my named workouts from Maximus Body, best-selling book I did with Maximus with Men's Health. 220. Remind me. There it is, Joe. You got it. You are prepared. Not me. I don't even know where my books are. But 10, and I might get this wrong. I'm a little punch drunk, so you're going to have to remind me. 10 push-ups, 10 squats, 10 sit-ups, every minute on the minute for 20 minutes. 200 reps of each, 600 total reps. If you did that 3 days a week for the summer, by the end of the summer, that's actually, I'm going to get some math here. I'm going to get my calculator out so you know I'm not lying to you. We're going to say there's 12 weeks in the summer, Joe, June, July, and August, right? 12 weeks, and you do that workout 3 times a week, so you get 36 of those workouts in, times 600 reps, 21,600 reps by the end of the summer. That's a huge amount of work in just Monday, Wednesday, Friday for 20 minutes. You can do that on your lunch break. If you are going out for the day, you're going to literally spend the day drinking your face off on a boat from 9 a.m. till 9 p.m. at night. Before you go at 7 o'clock, wake up, fresh out of bed, pour yourself a coffee, bust out your 200, 200, and then go for the day, and you've earned it. Like, it's literally that simple. So the second thing is, no matter what's going on in the summer, still make time for your activity. Don't just throw it in the garbage.
Yeah, and I know there's going to be pushback because people are going to be like, well, I can't do 10 push-ups. I can't do 10 squats in a row. And I'm just going to tell you, well, don't worry about hitting the total the first time you do it. Just fill the 20 minutes with effort. Do as many as you can. And then keep that score. And then the next time, do a few more. And maybe you don't hit the 21,000 by the end of the summer, but maybe you hit 10. 10 is still significant. And once you can, and this is what we said before, once you can do it, it just becomes a thing that you can do, and you can hit 200 reps of each every 20 minutes.
I want to ask a question. Mm-hmm. Just because I can't do 10, does that mean I should do nothing and just like be a fat slob? Like, okay,
even if you can't do it, because I know this is a big thing that prevents people from starting. I can't even do a push-up. Well, what if you spent a minute working on it?
Yeah.
What if you spent a minute getting in position, lowering yourself under control? How many days, how many efforts would it take before you can actually push yourself back up? And now, one push-up is just a thing you can do. So you learn how to do 2, then 3, then 10, and then you're off to the races.
This goes back to my favorite workout of all time, Joe, by one of our greatest heroes, the man known as One Punch Man. He decided to get fit. He decided he wanted to fight demons and monsters and supervillains. And what did he do? He ran 10K, did 100 squats, 100 push-ups, and 100 sit-ups every single day. That's it. That simple. And when he started, and by the way, he became the most powerful man in the world. And he spends the entirety of his life just trying to find somebody he couldn't beat down with one punch. That was his whole goal. He was so powerful. People couldn't believe his workout routine worked. But let's say you were to take that on. Maybe you can't even go 10K your first day. Maybe you can just walk 5K, then you walk 6K, then you walk 7K, then you walk 8K, then you walk 10K, then you jog 10K, then you run 10K, then you run it faster. Like, I promise you, if you just did 10K a day for an entire year, by the end of the year, you would be really, really obscenely fast. Like, it's
that brings up a question, though, Bobby. What if I do a 5K and then 50 reps of each? Could I be the 2-punch man?
You might be. You might be able to defeat any person in 2 punches, right? So just take yourself from the 100-punch man to the 1-punch man. Like, it's literally that simple. But you can do something. So that's point number 2. And it relates to point number 1, because if you would have been doing what you were supposed to do, you wouldn't be in the position where you only had to do 1 push-up. Like, just start and don't stop. Number 3, just make some better choices when you're at the barbecue, when you're at the luncheon, when you're at the whatever. Just make better choices. I was at a neighborhood party on Saturday. Could I have eaten the Doritos? Yes. Could I have eaten the Tostitos, yes. Could I have filled up on bread? Yes, but I chose to fill up on brisket and salad. And it didn't interfere, Joe. The brisket was so good, it didn't interfere with my enjoyment of the night.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm
I'll
just
tell you
looking
right
up
now,
right now. I'm using Dr. Google here just to get an idea of like a white hot dog bun. How many calories are in a white hot dog bun? It's almost 300. So if you really want a hot dog with a bun, have a hot dog with a bun. If you want seconds, maybe just don't have the bun.
Yeah.
You know, like make a better choice about it. Think about what you're doing here, because if you're going to eat 6 hot dogs, you've just undone like a week worth of workouts. So
yep. Well, let's actually phrase this. I don't want to go down the barbecue road, Joe, because people are going to get all esoteric and they're not going to understand. And what if my barbecue didn't have brisket? Then what do I do? But let's just think of eating out at common restaurants, common fast food joints. You go to In-N-Out Burger. Now, In-N-Out Burger, you can get the burger, you can get the fries, you can get the shake, you can get the bun, you can get animal style, which is like every condiment possible, including bacon and cheese on your fries, or you can get something called the Flying Dutchman. Just patties and cheese. I've done it at Shake Shack with a dish. Trust me, you go to In-N-Out and have a Flying Dutchman, you are not suffering. It is delicious. You are happy. Take that a step further. You go to McDonald's. Now, McDonald's isn't a great food choice, let's be honest. But no one's forcing you to have the fries and the soda. You can just choose to have the chicken tenders or the chicken nuggets. And I'm not saying it is perfect, but it is a better decision, right? When you go to Jimmy John's, and Joe, I got to tell you, I discovered Jimmy John's for the first time like 2 months ago. I'd never had it in my life. And I have a Jimmy John's problem. I love it. But here's the thing. You get that big sub, right? Like the regular size. I get a half size with double meat. It's a better choice than having the bun. And when I'm having that thing that's stacked up with meat, it's actually called the JJ Gargantuan. There's a name for it.
I know it.
I know it. I'm not suffering, Joe. Like, I would rather eat the meat than have the bread. You could do that at Subway. Half a 6-inch sub with double meat, not the full inch sub. Like, you can just start making better choices.
I'm having memories now, because there used to be a sub shop right near my old gym. And we used to go in there, and if you ordered the gargantuan, the guys would yell, "He ordered the gar!" And then the guys in the back would all go, "Gar, gar!"
That's so funny. But think about that, though. That's a way better choice than just the white empty bread, Joe. Right? Now, you come over for dinner. Would you say you were suffering if I made you a ribeye steak on the Traeger, gave you like a side salad of arugula with like raw Parmesan and like really good olive oil, and then we had a charcuterie board? No, you'd be happy with that. What if we just ate a rack of ribs? You and I went through this when we did the training for the Air Force. We went to Applebee's. It's all they had. We had Applebee's, we had a Whataburger, and we had like a Wendy's or something like that, right? And a McDonald's.
The Whataburger, they had to have the manager come out and be like, "Now, I just want to make sure I'm understanding. It's a pile of meat with cheese on it."
That's it. But when we went to Applebee's for our nice romantic dinner together to celebrate our performance at the seminar, like, Joe, I just had a rack of ribs. You had a burger without the bun. It's not like we were suffering. No one forced the tater tots down our throat. No one forced the frozen French fries down our throat. So my point is, when you go to these parties, just make, and I'm not even asking you to restrict, just make a little bit better of a choice.
Yeah, the little tiny change of just like I said, not eating 6 extra hot dog buns, that adds up as well. That definitely
adds up. Or have one hot dog instead of 2.
Yeah.
Like, have one less drink, because that works as well. Not only does 50 push-ups a day start to add up, having one less drink a day really starts to add up. Having one less handful of Doritos a day starts to really add up. You can also do the strategy, Joe, where you know you're going to a barbecue tonight and you want to eat and enjoy, then just fast during the day. Then just do whatever you want at that barbecue. I do that all the time. where I know I'm going to eat big tonight. Okay, today I'm going to eat light. Like, it's literally that simple. And if you were to do, I'm going to say, Joe, if you were to do just those three things, that's where we can end it. You would not have a problem with fitness. And that's what drives me nuts about what I saw at the pool last night. Yeah. It is literally that simple. If you just worked on staying fit all year round, and then when you were busy, just committed to 15 minutes a day to check the box and get a little extra work in. And then on the third hand, just watch what you put in your mouth a little bit. And note that I said just watch. I never said you're never allowed Doritos again. You're never allowed to drink again. You're not allowed any fun. You're not allowed any. I'm just asking you to be a little bit more cognizant and maybe shave off 100 calories a day.
And this goes right back to what we were saying, that boot camp mentality of being all in for 6 weeks versus just making a little tiny change, but being consistent. Because if you're consistent, like over time, and you're making these little bit better choices, you're burning a little bit more energy, you're working out a little bit more frequently. And then when you're like, you know what, I do want to get the loaded baked potato, that one loaded baked potato is not going to move the needle at all.
Let me ask you a question, Joe. How hard is it to burn 100 calories?
I mean, it depends how fast you want to burn them, right?
Okay, I'm saying I'm going to give you 20 minutes to do it, 30 minutes to do it, an hour to do it. I'm just asking you to burn an extra 100 calories a day. How easy is that?
10 minutes on a bike.
Okay, so 100 calories a day, 365 days a year, that's 36,500 calories. If there's 35 to 3,600 calories in a pound of fat, some people say 3,500, some people say 3,600. I've heard 4,100 thrown out there. It doesn't matter. That's literally, Joe, divided by 3,600. That's 10 pounds of fat you'll be down by the end of the year, right? Of fat. Now, let's do it the other way too. You just restrict 100 calories a day. So what? You eat one less half of a hot dog bun?
Yeah.
Is that what you said earlier? Yeah. You have one less banana, not that bananas, I don't know why I'm picking on bananas, but you have one less
Goddamn bananas making the world fat.
You have one less apple, you have one less ounce of meat. Instead of having 3 tablespoons of olive oil for dressing, you have 2. But let's say you shed an extra 100 calories a day. Well, again, Joe, the maths. There's another 10 pounds of fat. So imagine doing those in conjunction. So now you're that guy at the pool I saw yesterday. And for the past year, you just burnt an extra 100 calories a day. You took an extra few steps and you ate 100 calories less a day. Now you're 20 pounds less fat. That's year 1. Yeah. Year 2, you're down 40 pounds. Year 3, you're down 60 pounds. Now you're relatively fit. You're in the top 5%. Like, it's literally that simple, but you all want to make this so complicated, and you want to make it so hard, and you want to make it so difficult. And I just don't understand why. Yeah. I think just when you get intimidated, when you get frustrated, when you get, angry, when you see somebody who's more fit than you, just remember you're thinking way too hard about it. It's a consistent, small efforts are really the key to the long-term success. And if you want to do like a fast shred, we got great programs for that. Great workouts that you can do that are high intensity. You're going to burn lots of calories. You can get on a really restrictive diet for the short term. You can feed that need to really challenge yourself. Cool. But if you want to maintain that progress, you have to be able to do it in that long term, and that's how you do it. You keep saying brilliant stuff, and you keep wanting me to add to the.
Sorry, I'll shut up now.
No. But let me ask you another question, Joe. Because let's talk about that fast shred. You have a class reunion coming up. The summer's coming up. You have a movie shoot. You're going to be on screen. Like, whatever your thing is, you're going to be in a magazine. You get divorced and you got to go find a new spouse or a new mate or a new partner. So you want to get fit. Is it easier to do the shred when you've been sedentary for 2 years? Or is it easier to do the shred when you're already fit? Let me word it a different way. Is it easier to go from 0 to 100 or 50 to 100? Well, 50 to 100. Like, that's it's actually easier. Then if you want to do some real hard work, you're not trying to, because I do want to be sympathetic. It is hard and it is scary if all you've done is eat junk food and been sedentary to 2 years. It takes an incredible amount of mental juice, of pain, of anguish, of testicular fortitude, if you will, or intestinal fortitude to be inclusive. It takes an incredible amount of intestinal fortitude to change like 15 things at once. Yeah. Whereas if you've already been working out every day and you got that on lock, and you've already been eating kind of healthy and you got that on lock, and your sleep habits are kind of good and you got that on, well, now to tighten those things up doesn't take a lot. But when you gotta, what you call white knuckling, when it's December 29th and you're like, oh man, I've got 2 days left to clean my act up. Like January 1st is going to be like a sledgehammer. And the first time you train, you feel like you can't walk upstairs for a week because you're so sore. That's a huge mountain to climb. So if you do get in a position where you really want to dial it in, it's a much easier task to bite off on, if you will.
Yeah, agreed.
And so that's it. Stay fit. Keep it up. Make an appointment with yourself every day, even if it's just for 100 calories. Even if you take your little smart device, your watch, your Whoop strap, like whatever it is. I don't even know if Whoop does that, by the way, but take your little thing and just say, I'm going to do jumping jacks so I burn 100 calories extra today. Like if that's all you did. And then on the other hand, just not restricted, just watched a little bit, had a little bit extra meat with a little less bread, like you would not be embarrassed to take your shirt off at the pool. It's that simple.
Agreed.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Be Real podcast with Bobby Maximus and Joe Cebula. Tune in next time. But we do have an ask. Share this with everybody, especially your fat friends. Send this to them and say, the first person I thought about when I heard this podcast was you. And then just let them sit with that for a minute. Trust me, it'll be fun. I do stuff like this to my friends all the time.